January 29th, 1945. Holtzheim, Belgium. One American soldier walks around a farmhouse corner. He freezes. Over 80 German soldiers stand in front of him, weapons ready. His own men are already on their knees in the snow, hands behind their heads. A German officer steps forward and shoves a pistol hard into the soldier's stomach, screaming orders in German. The American doesn't speak German. He doesn't understand a single word. The officer screams louder, his face turning red. And then, the American does something nobody expects. He laughs. Less than 1 minute later, 21 Germans are dead, and the rest are surrendering. This is the true story of Leonard Funk and the most intense 45 seconds in World War II. Before we begin, hit that like button, drop a comment below about what you'd do in this situation, and subscribe for more incredible war stories. Leonard Funk wasn't the kind of soldier you'd expect to become a legend. He didn't talk much. He grew up poor in Braddock Township, Pennsylvania, during the Great Depression. His family didn't have money for extras. Funk learned early that you had to work hard and take care of the people around you. He joined the Army in June 1941, at age 24, just months before Pearl Harbor. He looked ordinary, but there was something different about Funk that his commanders noticed quickly. When chaos erupted around him, Funk got calmer. While other men panicked, Funk thought clearly. He didn't freeze when decisions needed to be made fast. This ability would save his life again and again. After getting into the Army, Funk could have chosen an easy job. The Army had plenty of safe positions far from combat. Supply clerks, cooks, mechanics, all stayed far behind the front lines. Nobody would have blamed him for taking one of those roles. Instead, Funk volunteered for the paratroopers. Paratroopers jumped out of airplanes behind enemy lines. They fought surrounded by enemies, cut off from help. The training broke most men. Soldiers quit every single day. They ran obstacle courses until they collapsed. They jumped from towers until their legs couldn't hold them. The instructors screamed that paratroopers were crazy, that they were volunteering to die. Funk never quit. He completed every brutal exercise. He made every jump. When his training finished, he joined the 82nd Airborne Division, one of the toughest units in the entire American military. This choice to seek danger instead of safety shaped everything that came after. June 6, 1944. D-Day. Funk jumped into France in total darkness. Enemy fire lit up the sky like fireworks. Planes exploded around him. When Funk landed, he crashed hard and twisted his ankle badly. The pain shot up his leg with every step. He was alone. His unit had scattered across miles of French countryside. Most soldiers would have hidden and waited for help. Funk started moving through the darkness despite the pain. He found lost paratroopers wandering in confusion. He gathered them together, gave them direction, and led them toward their objective. For 3 days, Funk led this mixed group of strangers through German-occupied territory. They faced enemy patrols. They crossed dangerous roads. Funk had injured his ankle badly in the jump, but he kept moving. Every man in his group survived those 3 days. When they finally reached American lines, Funk had proven something important. He could think clearly when everything fell apart. He could lead when nobody else knew what to do. September 1944. Operation Martin Garden in Holland. Allied gliders filled with soldiers approached the landing zones. German anti-aircraft guns opened fire, shredding the gliders apart in mid-air. Men were dying before they even touched the ground. Funk spotted where the guns were hidden. He had 3 soldiers with him. The Germans manning those guns numbered at least 20. The smart move was to wait for reinforcements. The safe move was to call for artillery support. Funk attacked immediately. His small team charged the German position. They threw grenades. They fired as they ran. The shocked Germans couldn't organize a defense fast enough. Funk's group destroyed the guns within minutes. The remaining gliders landed safely. Dozens of American soldiers lived because Funk refused to wait when seconds mattered. His commanders noticed this pattern. Funk moved fast when lives were at stake.
December 1944. News spread through the American lines about something horrible. Near the Belgian town of Malmedy, SS troops had captured over 80 American soldiers. The Americans had surrendered peacefully, hands raised, weapons dropped. The SS soldiers lined them up in a field and machine-gunned 84 of them. When Funk heard this story, something changed inside him. He made a decision that day. Funk later said he would not surrender while he was still alive and able to fight. This wasn't just anger talking. This could imply he looked at the evidence and decided surrender had become too dangerous. If the enemy wouldn't respect the rules of war, then the rules no longer protected him. This vow would be tested very soon. January 29, 1945. Holtzheim, Belgium. The Battle of the Bulge was ending, but fighting continued. Funk's paratrooper unit had lost so many men that they didn't have enough soldiers for their mission. The company executive officer became a casualty early in the fight, so Funk had to take over those leadership duties immediately. Funk looked around and grabbed whoever he could find: clerks who pushed papers, cooks who made meals, headquarters soldiers. He turned office workers into a combat unit. Under his leadership, they attacked 15 houses in the face of artillery fire. They cleared every building and captured 30 prisoners without losing a single man. The unit pushed forward and captured the entire village. In total, they took around 80 German prisoners. Here's where the problem started. Funk only had 4 men available to guard 80 prisoners. He left those 4 guards at a farmhouse on the edge of town. Then he returned to the fighting. Behind him, danger was building. He didn't know that a German patrol was moving toward that farmhouse. The German patrol arrived at the farmhouse quietly. They overpowered the 4 guards before anyone could shout a warning. Suddenly, 80 German prisoners had weapons again. With the help of the patrol, now over 80 German soldiers stood armed and ready. They planned to attack the Americans from behind. Funk finished checking the front line. He decided to walk back and see how the prisoners were doing. He approached the farmhouse through deep snow. Everything looked normal. The building stood quiet. No sounds of struggle reached his ears. He walked around the corner of the farmhouse. Over 80 German soldiers faced him, weapons pointed. His 4 guards knelt in the snow with their hands behind their heads. German rifles covered them from every angle. A German officer strode forward. The officer jammed his pistol into Funk's stomach and started screaming in German. There was no escape. No help was coming. Funk was alone against more than 80 enemies. Based on what happened next, we can assume any normal soldier would have raised his hands and hoped for mercy. Funk didn't speak German. He had no idea what the officer was yelling. His face turned red. He screamed louder, gesturing with his free hand. Spit flew from his mouth. His pistol pressed harder into Funk's stomach. Funk looked at the angry officer. He looked at the more than 80 armed Germans. He looked at his captured men kneeling in the snow. And Leonard Funk started laughing. The Germans stared at him in confusion. Was this American crazy? Why was he laughing with a gun in his belly? The officer stopped screaming, thrown off balance by this bizarre reaction. That confusion lasted only a few seconds, but in combat, seconds are everything. Those few seconds of hesitation gave Funk the smallest opening. Based on what we know about his lightning-fast decisions in Holland, we can assume his mind was already working on a plan while his mouth was laughing. Funk's hand moved toward his Thompson submachine gun. The Germans thought he was finally surrendering his weapon. Their training told them Americans always handed over their guns when captured. Funk wasn't handing it over. He was grabbing it to fire. The Thompson roared. The German officer fell first, shot at point-blank range. Funk spun and fired in a continuous burst. The narrow farmhouse corner created a bottleneck. Germans couldn't spread out to return fire effectively. Chaos erupted in seconds. Funk shouted to his kneeling men, "Grab weapons, fight!" His 4 guards rolled toward the shocked Germans and grabbed rifles from the snow. Now 5 Americans were fighting. The Germans had superior numbers, but they'd lost their advantage. They were packed together, getting in each other's way. Nobody knew who to shoot at in the confusion. Funk reloaded fast and fired again. Germans fell. Others dove for cover. Some tried to run. The Americans pressed their sudden advantage. 45 seconds after Funk laughed, 21 Germans lay dead. Many more were wounded. The rest threw down their weapons and raised their hands. Funk and his 4 men had recaptured all the prisoners. Nobody on the American side died. The army investigated what happened at that farmhouse. Officers interviewed witnesses. They counted the bodies. They verified every detail. The story seemed impossible, but all the evidence supported it. The United States awarded Leonard Funk the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration. President Harry Truman presented the medal to Funk at the White House on August 23, 1945. He became one of the most decorated paratroopers of World War II, also earning the Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Bronze Star, and 3 Purple Hearts. When the war ended, Funk went home to Pennsylvania. He never bragged about what happened. He worked for the Veterans Administration and lived quietly. He retired in 1972 as division chief at the Pittsburgh Regional Office. When reporters asked him about that day, he didn't like to talk about it. Funk died on November 20, 1992 at age 76. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. The battle at Holtzheim shows something important about war. This could imply that victory doesn't always go to the biggest or strongest soldier. It goes to whoever keeps thinking when everyone else is panicking. Leonard Funk's story teaches us that impossible situations sometimes have solutions if you stay calm enough to see them. That laugh in the face of death wasn't stupidity. Based on what we know about Funk's pattern of behavior, we can assume it was a snap decision to buy himself a few seconds of thinking time. War rewards the person who acts decisively when every second counts. Funk proved that at Normandy, in Holland, and finally at Holtzheim. He survived the war because he never let fear stop his brain from working. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below. What would you have done in Funk's situation? Would you have surrendered or would you have fought? Hit that like button if this story amazed you and subscribe to this channel for more incredible true stories from World War II. History is full of ordinary people who did extraordinary things when it mattered most. Thanks for watching.